Hi everybody, Fast Eddie here at Woodcraft 337 in Spokane Valley, and we're going to talk about some micro jig products today. As I've discussed in previous videos, in my shop, safety is my biggest concern. I like to keep all my hands, fingers, and toes and everything else intact and ready to go. One of the best safety features that I like is the micro jig products. And I'll go over really quickly some of the different items that we have and the accessories that we offer with those. And then we're going to do some fun little demonstrations, and we'll show you how it comes into play and just how these things work for you. So the most basic of the system is the micro jig gripper. This is just the straight push block that you can purchase here. The next step up from that is the actual system. This is going to give you a few more accessories and features that we'll go over here in a couple of minutes. But one of the big items that it comes with is the bottom push-out plate, which is good for using thin stock when you're doing thin strips. So that's another great safety feature there. You then can move up to the micro jig gripper complete. This is going to give you all of the accessories, base accessories I should say, for your gripper. And again, we will go over those accessories in just a moment. And then to really get the nice full system, we have the Double Pack Pro. And this is going to give you two complete micro jig grippers. Gotta say that slow every time. So you can use them in tandem, which allows you to come back and start another push for your longer wood products without having to release the pressure off of the wood from the front one. So basically what you're going to end up with is doing a hand over hand. You're pushing with this hand, you're going to set another one down, you can continue, and if you're using a nice long piece of stock material, you can keep that pressure on it at all times. So those are the base core systems. So now we were talking about, one more. And the newest member of the family, which is hands down one of my favorites that's come out, is the Grr-Ripper block. And this is going to be used on the jointer more than the table saw. So we're going to really show you how to use that one, and it's a great feature. I really love it. I used to use the grippers on my jointer, and now I can use the Grr-Ripper block. One of the best or most dangerous things that we do on our table saw are thin rip sticks. So when we're cutting 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch thick, whether it be edge banding, cutting board inserts, or items of that sort, we have to make very fine cuts. And most traditionally, most people have a push stick of some variation of this, plastic, wood, etc. Might have a nice little push handle this way or an overhand grip such as this style here. The issue with that is most of these start at about 3/8 of an inch, which means that no matter what, you're either not fully touching the wood as it's passing through, or you're passing your push stick through the saw blade, which is dangerous in and of itself because that can cause kickbacks off of that. You should not be cutting into your push stick with your material. So, one of the great things about the gripper system, let me grab one over here, it's got two different size end caps on it. So this guy here is 1/4 inch, meaning I can do as narrow as a 1/4 inch rip strip on here, having full contact with that 1/4 inch as it passes through, as well as my offcut would be pushed through as well. This side over here is a 1/2 inch. So anything larger, we could then use it this way. So these are bi-directional. You can use it either direction. And we could use 1/2 inch stock. So some of you are like, well, what if I got 1/8 of an inch? How am I going to cut that? Well, guess what? They got you covered. Got the 1/8 inch rip thin strip. And this would actually replace, so all of these pieces and components are separate. So you can go ahead and remove these 2 screws here, take the 1/4 inch off, you replace it with the 1/8 inch strip guide there, and you could make strips as thin as 1/8 of an inch safely and accurately. So I'm going to slide this guy back over to here. We'll tighten that guy down. Another item that they offer is the handle bridge kit. What this guy does is, on here when you're pushing down, especially if you're using a larger stock, you could inherently cause a little bit of outward push because you're pushing all the weight down in the middle of your gripper. The bridge will actually take that weight distribution and spread it out equally on both sides, and it cuts down on not only the rocking of it, but also where the pressure points are at. Therefore, if you had this and you were running your material and your cut line was directly down the middle, you would be pushing the weight down into the middle of the bridge here, which technically could cause some deflection and cause you to not have an accurate cut. The bridge would actually put the weight distribution on either side of that, therefore you're pushing down over the push pad grips, giving you great contact and pushing through accurately and not losing that contact that you could lose possibly by not having the bridge kit on there. The bridge kit does come with the master system. I do not believe, yes, it does not come with the smaller systems, but it does come with the complete system, comes with a set of them. Let's see, and yes, it's not part of the Dual Pack Pro as well. Another great accessory that they offer is the Grr-Ripper Gravity Heel Kit. And what this is used for is this actually bolts onto the back here. You loosen this bolt, slide it on, and as you push your material through, the heel hooks onto the back of your strip there. So as you're pushing through, it's pulling the material behind you, giving you a nice firm push through. So, and again, that also comes with the complete system. So just to give you a quick rundown again, this is a base handle. This is going to give you the offset guide, which actually I didn't go over that. Let me go over that really quick. This is a great item here. Get back into camera here. So one of the things that happens, you're working with stock this size here, but you got a gripper this size. And you try to put that on your material and you're trying to push it, well, you're rocking all over the place. What this guy does, I've got one set up over here, I can now take this material, push it on there. Now I've got a stabilizing block on the saw that allows me to put the downward pressure on the piece of material I'm pushing, as well as giving me a side to side so I'm not rocking my material, keeping it nice and square against my fence and giving me a safe push through. All right, so let's move this back over. The other item that comes with it is the spacer block. And this one here is 3/4 of an inch, or excuse me, 1 inch thick. And this is for if you're using a larger board, maybe you're doing drawer size, something like that. It just gives you extra contact for holding down and pushing larger pieces through. It just gives you more surface area, so when you add it to this side here, you now have an inch on each side plus that can push through. And that just bolts directly right into the side of either side of this, and that'll give you that there. So, all right, let me clear some of this stuff out of the way here. Oh, wait, actually, I was going to finish going through that. So, that's the base system, and it does come with the offset block that we were just showing you. The next one is the system. It's going to give you the base plate for holding your thin stock square over to the side, as well as it gives you the riser block, and I believe that one comes with the, I'll make sure here. Yes, and this one comes with the spacer block. This guy here as well. So that one is included in that as well. And then the complete system gives you the bridge kit for the stability. It gives you the heel kit to pull your material through. And this is actually enough for doing 2 different grippers. So if you bought an extra gripper, you would have enough heels to run them both. You would not need to buy an extra set of heels. It also comes with the 1/8 inch thin strip grip, allowing you to make those 1/8 inch strips. And it also comes with this guy here. This is the deflection connector accessory. And what this does is one of 2 things. It can be used to connect 2 grippers together, so it connects them both. You can have 2 of them to push a large panel through. So if you're doing your cabinet panels and stuff, you could have 1 on each and push through, keeping your material down tight to your fence and giving you an accurate cut. The other way it can be used is it can actually be attached to the back side, and it can be a deflector, which would keep any, if you were doing cuts near the edge and you get a lot of that sawdust that flips up and out of your way, because when you're doing these types of cuts, we can't have our overarm dust collection safety guard on there because of these type of cuts. So this would give you the ability to deflect that sawdust as well. So that's another use for that. And then the last item that comes in there is you get the 3D push block system, which is the same as this one, the second one here. So that all comes in the complete grip kit. I do. Well, let's go through each one of them real quick. So, for the standard 1-unit gripper, it is going to be item number 146172. You can find that in our catalog as well as online. Also, if you want to call to check availability, you can give us that number and we can check availability for you. The second one, which is the 3D push block system, that number is going to be 820434. And then the complete system, we have an item number of, on the very bottom of course, 169704. For the Grr-Ripper block, my new current favorite, is 856321. Joel's trying to make me smile back there, and it always works because Joel makes me smile. And the next one, which is the complete gripper double pack Pro, is going to be, turn it the right direction, 855385. And 2 thumbs up from Joel on that one, because there's 2 grippers, 2 thumbs. And we have both of our thumbs because we use these safety devices. Okay, so let me move this stuff out of the way here. Pack up all of my goodies here. And while I'm doing this and getting all this stuff together, Joel, do we have any questions or comments at this point?
None currently.
None currently. That means we're giving them all the correct information they need, and they're just enjoying the show.
We have a comment you'll need to, and that comment is best safety device on the market. Great people too at Micro Jig.
Sweet. So what the question was, or actually, sorry, it was a comment, was that it was a great safety feature and a great company and great product. And who gave us that information?
Frank Breyer.
So thank you, Frank, for that information. We love the input and the feedback. And we will move on along down here. And so, safety first, we're going to get the old safety goggles on, and we will do a little demonstration over. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the joiner. And until I actually do that, I'm going to take these off because they're a little scuffed up for me here. So, a couple of features about the Grr-Ripper block. One of the best features is you grab it, you set it down, it's ready to go. And I mean, this thing is rock solid. It locks in, it grips, and it does what it's supposed to do. One of the other great features is without doing any adjusting or modifications, I can lift this up, I can put it on the end, lightly slide up, and there are grips on both sides that hook in and act as a heel stop. Not an additional accessory on this one. It's actually built right into the device and it's automatic. So when you go to put it on a flat surface, it lifts them up out of the way and you got full contact. When you don't, or when you want to use them as a heel, you just slide it up till it's tight, and now it's actually automatically on that and it will pull the material through our joint here. So it also is great because it can be used in multiple facets, whether you're using a sideward push or a downward push, same tool. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn on this information. We're going to do a quick surfacing of this. So we're going to start, we'll do our face first. We'll get that nice and flat. Then we'll turn it up on edge and we'll joint our edge down. Should have a perfect 90 degree at that point. So get this on here. I always check for obstructions before I turn on my power tools. Not sure if you can hear me, but I'm going to talk and we got a new mic, so hopefully we'll be able to hear it good. I'm going to get my material tight against my fence. I'm going to use my heel stop, and I'm going to then use that and push through and make my pass. We now have a very nice, clean, smooth base. It pulled it through nicely, kept it tight against the fence there, and gave me exactly what I was looking to get out of that. So now we will move on and we will joint our edge down to a nice 90 degree. That is one thing when you are using the sideways, you will have to engage the locks yourself. Once I do that, I use one finger to keep it balanced. No more pencil lines. I now have a very nice, perfect 90 degree angle. I'm ready to move on to my planer and my table saw to make it surface four sides. So again, great product, love it. I just can't say enough about how well this works with the joiner, especially when I'm using long pieces. I have two of them, I do the hand over hand. And I also like that it has a nice large flat side there, so you're getting a good sideways contact. Also could be used on band saws, which is a great feature. You can take this like this, and you take another one on this side, and you can actually push through the bandsaw blade, and it won't wobble and walk on you because it's going to have a nice solid 1.5 inch surface there that you can lock it down and push it through your bandsaw. Just another way that you can use this system. So now we're going to move over to the table saw, and we'll do some strip cutting over here. Like I said, we always talk about safety, and we want to make sure that we're using all of our safety devices as best we can. However, for demonstration purposes, there are times that we do remove some of the safety features. We always use the most that we can. One thing I will stress about this is that whenever you have your safety guard off, please replace it with as many devices that you can to protect yourself. So in this instance, what we're going to do is we're going to crank this guy up, and we're going to go ahead, because obviously we'd never be able to do a 1/8 inch or a 1/4 inch strip with this gear in the way. But the Micro Jig gripper is going to give us that same overhead protection, as well as keep our material tight against the fence. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure everything's powered off, turned off, and Jill's got me unplugged over there. So we'll go ahead and we're going to pop the plate out here, and I'm going to pop the guard off. Comes out that easy. Now, what I'm not going to do is immediately go and start to make my cuts. I'm going to get my riving knife, And I'm going to put that back in there. I don't make any cut other than my dado cuts without my riving knife in there. And that's only because my dado cuts don't cut all the way through, and I can keep my material stock there. Number one cause of kickbacks, no riving knife. So please, put your riving knife back in, even for just one cut. Safety first. I'll go ahead and we'll put our throat plate back in there, and we will lower our blade back down. Okay, so the first cut we'll do here, we're going to do a 6-inch cutoff piece. So I'm going to set our table saw to 6 inches. All right, we got that dialed in at 6 inches. I'm going to go ahead and raise my blade to the appropriate height, about right back there, basically just to the bottom of my gullet. I want to make sure I get a nice clean pass through, and we go from there. So one of the things you'll notice is that's much larger than my gripper. So there's a couple ways you can do this. The easiest way, however, I've got this guy here, and I can set him right on my fence, just like that. I can then take my gripper and I come up here, making sure that my blade is going to pass directly through the center here and not cut through my block. Which does bring up a curious point here. What happens if you're not exactly accurate? Well, I have done this at least once. You can see here, I cut through, sorry, my camera needed to be readjusted. I cut through some of the sacrificial area here. These pieces are all individual, which is what's really great. I didn't ruin my entire system. At this point, it's not enough material removed that it's going to affect it, so I'm going to continue to use it. But had I cut through the middle and wanted to replace it, I can replace any one of these pieces separately, and those are items that we carry on the shelf so that you can get your system back and going. You don't have to go buy a whole new gripper system. You can replace each piece individually. That's great foresight, and I think Micro Jig did a great job on that aspect of it. So, back to the cut here now. Joel will probably want to zoom back in now. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to make sure, and I kind of just slide a little bit, make sure I got a nice clearance on both sides. I know I'm good to go. The other thing I like to do is before I run my piece through, I always put my 1-inch piece here on the thinner side of this. That way at least I'm getting the most grip that I can get versus putting the two larger pieces on the same side and having the thinner one over here. The point of having both sides connect is that we're pushing both pieces, both the good piece and the offcut piece, all the way through and having pressure on both pieces. That's the important, crucial piece to making this a safe cut. So, I can get that set up the way I want it, and I can either leave this piece of wood on here. It'll ride just through. It's nowhere near my blade, and my gripper's going to keep it tight against the fence. Or if you wanted to, you could simply remove it, keep that in one place, and push it through. I myself prefer it like this. I know that that's going to keep me tight, and when I put my gripper down, I push it slightly tight, make sure it's tight against the fence, slide it up against my stock, and now I'm ready to make that cut. So let me get my safety glasses on, and we'll go ahead and make a cut. And give it just a couple seconds for the Sawstop to do its diagnostics. And we're clear, so we're going to go ahead and, if you would hit the dust collector there for me, Joel. It's on the backside push button. There we go. Okay, now that he's all done there, I'm going to go ahead and leave this and lift this off slightly here. So as you can see, I moved both pieces of material all the way past my blade. So I no longer have the blade spinning inside. We don't want to be stopping back here and still having a little bit touching on the blade. You want to have it all the way out here. Once my blade's completely stopped, then we can move those. As you can see, we got a nice, beautiful square cut there. I was able to push both pieces. The issue is when you're using, let's put this piece back in here. Put this one here. And you're using a traditional push stick. We all know that what happens is about the time you hit it right here, you're no longer pushing this piece. You're pushing this piece. And one of the issues that causes kickback is this piece of wood drifting into the blade. So what happens is this piece comes off. Sometimes we tend, and you can see here there's a little gap. This piece can slightly push this piece, and now it's come back into the blade. And that's where we're going to get kickback, and that's where we get injured. So that is why the gripper is so amazing. It pushes both pieces safely, completely past the blade before we let our pressure off. At this point, there's nothing in near the blade. Nothing's going to get caught on that blade and thrown back at us. So that's our first cut there. We'll go ahead and we'll move this stuff out of the way. So we'll just do a nice standard 2 1/4 inch cut on this piece here. So I'll move our back to 2 1/4 inch. And do we have any questions at this point or comments as we're going along?
None so far.
Okay. So now I've got it set up and I want to do 2 1/4. With the 2 1/4, that fits right into the core base measurements of what the micro jig gripper will handle. So at this point, I can flip that guy around and I can make sure I'm running right down the middle. I'm all set. My blade is not in contact. I have my larger side on, and that's the other thing too. I always like to have the large center attached with the smaller piece, but in addition to that, I try to keep the larger piece of surface area on my inset piece next to the fence and the smaller piece on my cutoff side. If I have a larger piece where I want to have more there, at that point I would then put my spacer block on this side here, giving me maximum grip on both sides and both pieces of material, and I can do it. This piece is small enough, I absolutely have no reason to put this on, so I'm just going to use the gripper as it's set up here. So that's something you just want to be aware of, is how much gripping surface you have down on your stock. So at this point, I've got my large stock, or my large gripping towards the inside stock, this one out. I run it over top, I can see I've got good clearance. The other thing too you always want to be aware of is this is where it comes crucial that we're setting our blade correctly on the saw, as well as the safety aspect of cutting correctly. But if I crank this blade all the way up, and I go to run this, well, look what's going to happen. I'm going to destroy my product and cause a safety issue. So we want to be setting our blade correctly. So we're going to drop that back down. Just inside my gullet there, perfect. So now I know that when I come over the top of this, I got a nice clearance at the top there, and my saw is not going to damage my item and keep me nice and clear. So if Joel will go ahead and fire me up on the dust collector. All right, get the saw going. So again, you can see I've come completely out past the blade. I kept both pieces and they are perfectly lined up with each other. So nothing drifted as it was going through there because they were held tightly by the gripper. Another thing I like when I'm doing my cuts is, I'll stop like this, and then at the end, because I have an outfeed table on mine, I can just push my material on out of the way that way there. I don't have an outfeed table here, so I can bring mine back around. Please always make sure your blade is off and completely stopped before bringing any product back towards you. We don't want any kickback or safety issues. Now, let's get down to one of the funnest things about this and the coolest things is doing those thin strips. Cutting boards are the way. Everybody loves to make the cutting boards, and you got to get those really nice thin strips. Most dangerous thing we do. I'm going to cut some 1/4-inch strips here for you and show you just how easy it is with this product. I'm going to go ahead and set my blade over to 1/4 of an inch, just like that. I'm going to move my stock over here. Again, I will adjust my blade correctly and get it to where it needs to be, about right there. I will double check to make sure I'm nice and square. I got no rocking. That is nice and tight and solid and ready to go. And at this point, we'll have Joel fire up the dust collector. And let's go ahead and make a thin strip. Sorry about that. I had actually a little knot hole on the bottom of my stick that was catching on my lip there, so I had a hesitation for a moment. But look at that. One nice, perfect 1/4-inch strip. I can now add all my other pieces and I can make my cutting boards. This is great. And like I said, that is double the minimum thickness of what we can do. We can actually make 1/8 inch thick strips by using the 1/8 inch rips. So as you can see how nice and narrow that is there. It's got a nice 1/8 inch thick on there. Is a great product. Like I said, makes those nice and perfect and clean with a nice sharp blade. No burn marks. Those are actually wood marks there. That's the other great thing about this I didn't mention earlier. One of the best things about having something that holds your material tight and correctly down is you get that full pass through and you don't have the hesitation of having to let off and come back. That's where most times that your burn occurs, is during when you pause in the middle of a cut through. So as I was explaining earlier, you can use these in unison. And what you can do is, as you're pushing this one through and you get to the end, I can now get another one on there and continue that pass. I never have taken pressure off of this and can continue my movement, and I can continue to rotate my hands and get that long piece of material through there. But especially on these smaller, 12 to 18 inch pieces that we're using for cutting boards, it's great because you can start here, you push it through nice and smooth as long as you don't have a knot in the bottom. And you're just going to get perfect cuts that will make beautiful cutting boards. So that is that guy there. So at this point now, I'd like to ask if anybody has any questions or comments they want to talk about. We'll just kind of recap a little bit here. I'll put these guys out here. And by the way, guys, these are my personal. They were not given to me. I got no discount on these guys. I actually bought these at full price. And I would pay double that for them if I had to. I don't want to, but I would, because safety is the most important thing in the shop. I couldn't imagine living my life without being able to work in the shop or having the hands, fingers, and toes required to work in the shop. So, or as my buddy cameraman Joel would say, our spirit fingers, or jazz fingers. Yes. So, the Grr-Ripper block, must-have accessory for jointers, as well as bandsaws. It's a great feature to use for doing resawing. Another thing I'd like to point out, and nobody's asked this time, but one of the things I asked about a lot is what happens when your gripper starts to slide and it's no longer gripping on the metal. So this guy, as you can see, I really got to put some effort to make that guy move. I will be the first to admit that these guys have gotten a little bit of buildup. So they do tend to move just a little bit easier. That's a quick, easy fix. Take a little denatured alcohol, 90% isopropyl alcohol, give them a little cleanup with a nice clean cloth, and man, they will lock down on that surface, good to go. Just a quick little tune-up to do now and then to keep them nice and sticky, grippy, and pushing your rips on through.
Sticky grippy?
Sticky grippy, yeah, you gotta like that. That's double, baby. Sticky grippy. So, if we don't have any other questions, I think that's all I've got today on the gripper.
What other uses can you use? What other tools can you use the gripper on?
You know, honestly, I think about the only power tool that I would not use one on, just because I don't see any, you know, the planer or the drum sander, because, you know, the machine's going to feed it through itself.
Router table?
Router table, absolutely, is a great device, especially when you're using the riser block, because you can keep your material pressed in from both sides onto your side plate. This Grr-Ripper block would be great for that because you can keep that material on there. Let's see where I was trying to, oh, sorry. I lost my train of thought. You can put this guy on here, and here's one of the great ways to use this on a router. Is I can just throw this guy on here. Oh, another great feature that I like that they came up with, and I'm sure they're not the first one, but it's a great feature. I lose knobs and parts all the time to things because they get thrown in the drawer. I'm like, well, where's that little bolt that holds it on? They have put little rubber grommet washers on here that hold the bolts to the device. You can pull it back off very easily if you need to remove or change it, but that little O-ring is perfect, as I just dropped it, of course, right there. And slide that guy back on there. It keeps your knurl knobs attached to the device so you're not going and looking for them whenever you got to put it back together. But where I was going on the router is you can take this piece like this, and let's say we were going to do a round over bit on our stick right here. We want to do a round over bit. I can slide that underneath here just like this, get it set there, tighten down my knurl knobs. Now I have downward as well as inward pressure. So let's just pretend, I'll drop my blade out of the way here, that this is my router table. I have my router bit right there. I can set this against the fence like this. I'm now using the side rail here to hold my material. Actually, let's drop this down a little bit here. Let's go just like that. Okay. There. Now I'm fully balanced. I got no rock, as well as the side here is holding my material tight to my fence, and I have the downward pressure here that's going to grip and push my material through. With those there, I'm square, I'm tight, I'm against the rail, and I can push this on through my router. Again, getting that consistent push through. Any other questions? All right. Well, I want to thank everybody personally. I know that, you know, with COVID and everything else going on, you know, we all have our struggles that we go through. But, you know, coming here and talking to us about woodworking, we are open as a necessity store. So come on in and we'll get you taken care of all of our safety procedures to supply your woodworking needs. And we also offer curbside service for those who need to pick up curbside. So give us a call and we'll take care of you. Thank you all, and have a wonderful season, and we'll see you next time.